So which elite spec is the best to solo the open world with without having Janthir wilds, without having access to the spears? This question I will answer today in this video. Special thanks to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon that help me keep the lights on. And now without much further ado, let's jump straight in. So this is a tier list, like I said, about soloing the open world. So you want to have builds that are really strong without any allies around. So you can even solo legendary bounties, for example, something that is really challenging. Or you just want to have a build that is capable of doing anything in the game without having allies. And you don't have to really, dodge every single attack and you just get it done. You don't have to care too much about how to play. That's those builds I'm talking about. So the tiers are S to D tier, self-explanatory I would say. Big disclaimer before I start. This is my opinion. There might be some differences to your opinion. Please let me know in the comments below. But this is a personal take on the matter. I try to be objective though, so it should be somewhat similar to your takes. So let's start with the core classes. So I would say let's rate the easy ones first, because they are just not having a really good solo build. That's why I put them in a low tier. So we have Mesmer. I think core Mesmer is not good. That's the problem. It's just not made for being played for the most part. It's very weak in solo play. It has a lot of support capabilities, and that's not good in solo play, obviously. Then we have core Elementalist. I think it's also quite weak. You could make an argument for you could play it with Celestial and it would be decent, but the trades doesn't support it in comparison to, for example, a Catalyst or even Tempest. So yeah, it's not that good. Then I would say core Thief is decent. You can play it with Celestial, but yeah, again, I would say it's better than those two, but it's not good enough in my opinion. The same goes for core Necromancer and core Ranger. I think those can be played, don't get me wrong. They did do that job in open world. You can play anything and you will be fine if you do at least some of the decent builds here. But even the D tier builds you can make work. But you will have way harder times than with the S, A or B tier builds, for sure. So that's why I put it in C tier. Those two are decent, just power crap. That's it. Then we have core Guardian. That's the first decent one, I would say. Without having the spear, it doesn't matter. On Condi builds for Guardian, spear is power, so it doesn't matter. And therefore, this is a really good build with Celestial, with full Viper. I wouldn't say it's crazy good. Maybe it's low A tier. It depends a bit who you ask. But I would put it in high B tier for now, because we have actually really good builds in A tier. So I think this is a good build. I wouldn't go as far as I would say it's a really good build, because it lacks a little bit of the utility from the other Guardian specs. But yeah, let's say low B tier, yeah. Maybe it's actually high B tier rather, and low A tier. Let's leave it for now in low A tier, to make clear that it's definitely better than those other core classes here. And then we have core Warrior. I think core Warrior is decent. I think you can play it actually with Celestial quite decently. I would say it's not as good as core Guardian though, so I would put it in B tier for now. Let's see what else do we get here. We have core Engineer. I think core Engineer struggles a bit without Spear. Spear is actually really good on Engie. So I would put it in C tier because of that. It's not as broken here. Core Revenant, of course, it's also quite bad. It's probably the worst spec that we have for open world. It's not crazy bad. You can still play it, but it's still way inferior than in most other classes. That's why I put it in D tier. And now we're done with the core classes. Just a rather quick one. Let's now go a little bit deeper into the other specs that are a little bit more likely to be played by you. So let's start with Guardian. So we have Guardian. Dragon Hunter is one of the classes that is really power favored. You can't really play a Condi build for the most part, and it doesn't have the best safe buffing capabilities. So I personally would play it with a power build. I have a video guide about every spec here except Tempest out right now. So if you watch that in the future, even Tempest might be out soon. So even multiple ones for all of those. So be sure to check the playlist out in the description below. And this is a power build that I played, and there is exactly the same that I play here without Janthir wilds actually in there. I would put it in B tier. I think it's actually okay. You can play it. It's fun. It is struggling in harder encounters because you don't have the craziest amount of defenses and self-sustain and buffing, but it's definitely doable. Yeah, it's definitely doable. And we have Firebrand. So Firebrand, again, you play it like a Condi build, Celestials or Viper or something like that. Probably Celestial, and I would say it's actually really good. It's really good. It is very flexible what you can do. It has good healing, good self-buffing. I think it's S tier or high A tier. I believe it now in S tier because I think it's really, really good in that matter. and it doesn't need a spear, and you can play it without Janthir Wilds without a problem. And then we have Willbender. I think Willbender is interesting because Willbender is really, really good in soloing stuff. And if it's so to say not having punishable mechanics that you need to be ranged at. If you need to be ranged at, Willbender gets a little bit punished because of its mechanics. But if you can't be melee, it's actually really good. I would also say it's an S tier build for me. It's really, really good. Celestial, Pistol, Willbender, you need Soto for that one, of course, but also for the Firebrand one. But if you don't have Janthir Wilds, they are both playable and they're really good, I would say. Let's now go to Warrior. Warrior, I would say, is interesting again because Spellbreaker and Bladezone, those two, should be Blade Power. It's like they are designed for that. And that means that the Spear, which is actually quite good on power builds, because you don't have Janthir Wilds, you can't use, so they fall off a little bit in terms of that. The Bladezone doesn't use Spear, so that doesn't matter too much. I would put Bladezone in B tier. In general, I think it's decent, it's very fun. Maybe in low A tier actually. Let's put it in A tier. I think it's actually quite good, but it's not as broken. Even without the Spear, I think it's not as broken, yeah. And I have to be honest, this build would be extremely strong with the Janthir Wilds relic that they just added. The one that gives you passive might and crit chance. This is extremely strong on this build, so it falls off quite a bit by not having this, I would say, because this would be a big buff. So let's leave it now in A tier rather, and go to Spellbreaker. I think Spellbreaker is actually underrated, but I would put it in B tier. I think Spellbreaker it lacks a little bit the defenses that other S and A tier builds have, and you know, it doesn't have protection, and that's a big problem in a solo build, so that's why it's here, I would say. It's strong, it does nice DPS, it's fun to play, but it's not as broken as the others. Then we have Berserker. I just play a Celestial Berserker here with Longbow, Sword, Torch. Don't need Janthir Wilds for that. Easy S tier. Really good build. It's just really good. I would really say play this build, it's fun, that's the best warrior spec. If you don't mind playing Celestial, it's really good. By the way, if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Then we have Revenant. Revenant is interesting because all of the elite spec, I'm not joking, all of the three here are really good. And the interesting part is, Spear would be the best choice, but you can easily replace the Spear with a shortbow. So you would just use a shortbow with mace and shield or mace and axe. And those weapons work with all three of them, and I think all three of them are actually really good. So that's why I put them in S tier. Herald is the easiest to play, is the most boring one to play. Vindicator is the most unkillable one. And Renegade is the most aggressive one. So all three have a playstyle. All three are really, really good solo builds. And all three can be played without the Spear. So just use the shortbow and you will be fine. The only thing that you need for those, of course, is then Soto. Yeah. But they are really, really good. And I would say they are really, really fun to play as well. So Engineer is also very interesting. All three elite specs can be played solo. However, all three, and that's the sad part, should be played with Celestial, and the Spear is just the best option for that. So you really lose out with not having Janthir Wilds for those. You can replace it with Pistol or Pistol Shield, and you will be okay, but they drop a tier, I would say, because of that. Spear is really good on Engineer. It's really, really good. So I would say Scrapper. Because of that, I would say Scrapper goes in B tier. It's decent, but it loses quite a lot of value from it. The same goes for Holosmith. I think Holosmith also goes for me in B tier. I think Mechanist, on the other hand, it's still really good, even with a pistol. I think I would normally put it in S tier. I think even with this Spear that you are missing, I think even then it's in S tier. It's really, really good. Maybe high A tier, but I will leave it now in S tier because it's actually really good. The pet helps a lot, and it's just a very good spec for that. For soloing stuff, you can have Alacrity, Quickness permanent, and even with the pistol you will be fine, I would say. But Spear is better. Then we have Ranger. Ranger is also interesting because all three elite specs can be really, really well played in solo scenarios. But of course, Untamed is the absolute king. And the interesting part is you can play it power or Condi, it doesn't matter. You don't need to use a Spear. Absolutely broken. Really, really good. Crazy good in soloing stuff in the open world. And even in fractals and stuff, really, really good spec. You don't need a Spear for that. Then we have Druid. I think Druid is the weakest of those three. It's still fun to play. It's really good. I would put it in A tier. It is not absolutely broken, but really good. Yeah. And you can see Druid and Bladezone are definitely better than Core Guardian, I would say. So let's put Core Guardian in lowest of A. And then we have Soul Beast. Yeah, Soul Beast I would say is really, really good. You can play it as a Condi Soul Beast and it's really fun to play. It is not as good as Untamed, I would say. So I would put it in A tier as well. It's really nice how much boons you can apply and stuff, but Untamed just has so much utility in there that the Soul Beast is a little bit struggling with, so I would say leave it at 8. Then we have Thief. Yeah, what can I say? Thief is like the only class where I have to put a lead spec in C tier. Daredevil is just not very good in solo play. It's just not made for that. It doesn't have crazy safe buffing capabilities, and it doesn't matter if you have Janthir Wilds or not. It's just not that good. Then we have Deadeye. Yeah, Deadeye, I would say you can play with a spear in a solo build. I think it's a little bit squishy, and that's why I would not put it in S tier, because it's a little bit easy to punish. If you can play it, I think it's an S tier build. If you, so to say, want to have a solo build that is really tanky and is just easy brain off and you kill everything, then it's not it. So even without the spear, it's not as broken. You need a lot of dodges and spam it, and if you get hit once, then you might die from it. So keep that in mind. I think it's a fun playstyle. It's really good. I like it because it does high damage. So for me personally, it's S tier. But for someone that starts out, I would not do that. I would rather go with Spectre. Spectre is for me an A tier pick. It is very tanky, has nice range DPS, and you don't need Janthir Wilds for that. You can use Scepter, Pistol, Scepter, Dagger actually. It doesn't matter. It's really good. Then we have Mesmer. Mesmer is interesting. You could play all 3 of those. I have actually all 3 of those as a power variant with Spear. But you can easily replace the Spear in those builds with a Greatsword. And you run Greatsword, Sword, Dagger. Or Dagger, Sword rather. And you will be fine. And they will be completely the same. Spear is a little bit better maybe, but I would still run them. So that's why Virtuoso, play it power with Greatsword and you will be fine. I would put it in A tier, really good build. Fun to play. Lacks a little bit of the crazy tankiness of the S tier builds, but still very, very good. Then we have Mirage. I would play Chrono and Mirage. I know they have power versions and I have build guides about them. They are fun to play for power enjoyers, but I would say the Condi versions are the better ones for most scenarios. I think Mirage and Chronomancer are absolutely insane and should be S tier. You don't need a spear for those Condi versions. You can easily play them. Absolutely insane. Really, really good. You can play them without anything of Janthir Wilds and you will be really, really good with them. I think they are really underrated and really fun to play. Then we have Elementalist. Yeah, what can I say? I think the problem is Spear is a decent weapon, but for solo builds I would mostly go with a Condi build on Elementalist. So Spear is not used on that, and therefore you can use just the normal build versions of those. I would say Tempest is for me a low A tier build. It's decent, it works, it's fun to play, but it's not as broken as the S tier builds. The same goes for Viva. I think Viva is actually a little bit worse than Tempest, so I put Viva in B tier. I think you can make it work, but it is not as broken as the other spec that we have here, which is Catalyst. Catalyst is absolutely insane. You just play it with a hammer. You don't need the spear for that. You don't need anything from Janthir Wilds with that one. And you just, you know, yeah, it's insane. It's really good. S tier. Clearly, it's really good. With the June 24th patch, it got buffed. It's really, really good. It's insane. Necromancer is interesting. All 3 elite specs are absolutely great. The spear, you can run it on Reaper, but all 3 I would say are not the best with it. Spear is like a made for power build, and Reaper's the only one that can be played with a power build in a solo scenario. The other 2 are clearly Condi, so they are not affected by it. I would say Harbinger for me is A tier. It's really good, but it's a little bit squishy. If it would be not as squishy because you lose your shroud tanking, so to say. If it's not as squishy, I would put it in S tier, but it is a little bit squishy, and that brings it down in tier, I would say. If you can play it, the DPS output is insane, so keep that in mind, but you're squishy. Scourge, on the other hand, is the opposite. It's a little bit slow and sluggish, but it's really tanky and really easy to play. That's why an S tier. And then we have the king of open world. I would say Reaper, absolutely insane. You can play it power, Condi, it doesn't matter. You don't need Janthir Wilds for it, and you will have a lot of fun. It's amazing. It's really good. It's really strong. It's easy to get into. Perfect for hardcore play. You can even solo fractal CMs with that. Insane build. Insane. S tier for sure. Yeah, and that's the tier list, I would say. So you can see a lot of builds can be played and really, really good without Janthir Wilds, without any spear. Even the A and B tier builds are actually really good. I would just not recommend playing C and D tier builds if you want to go for really hard content. But like I said in the beginning, everything is subjective here in that sense, because you can even play solo in open world and will be fine with the D tier builds. It's just a little bit more of a challenge than with the S tier builds. Maybe a bit more. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks to all my supporters on YouTube and Patreon. And I hope to see you all in the next video.